Okay, Packers draft review. The Packers always have very bizarre drafts, and honestly, they've made a lot of good moves in the past. Also, a lot of moves that just haven't worked out. They take a lot of swings. They do a lot of unique things. And I mean, they have made the playoffs the past couple of years, so you have to tip your cap to them that it's worked out enough. But it doesn't always work out either, right? Which makes it super interesting to talk about, as we'll see which of these moves end up being the slam dunks and which ones end up being the missed layups. Well, let's start off with a slam dunk, I think, right off the bat. Matthew Golden, who a player I really like. I'm surprised he wasn't taken by Tampa Bay if they wanted to go receiver here, but Golden is someone who I think can move very well. He does have that really good speed. People say it doesn't always show up on tape, but I think it does at times. Actually, I think he is a pretty explosive player. I realized I should mention, I forgot to explain what the chart is next to me. So what the chart is it's when the player was taken, what the player's name is, what their position is, and then the number all the way to the right is where they were projected to go via the consensus big board. You see Golden was projected to go 18th. He goes 23rd. And the main thing that the Packers need, and this has kind of been talked about to death, but I'll still bring it up, is they kind of needed a guy who could just win on the outside. Like, who's someone who could just go out and win? They have a lot of good players, a lot of solid players who can do their role well. Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton even, Christian Watson. Those are all guys who do their role and are solid at their role, but there isn't really a one there. And I do think Golden has potential to be the one. I guess the one critique you would say is if he doesn't live up to that, well, for some other teams, like, okay, Tampa Bay, they're drafting Emeka Egbuka. They hope he can be a number one caliber receiver. If he doesn't, that's still valuable to that team because they could use, another guy. For the Packers, they don't really need just another guy. They've got plenty of guys, right? So maybe that's the critique, but I don't know. I think it's a fine pick here. I like it. Anthony Belton was their second round pick 54, projected to go later. He's very much a project type, does have great measurables, you can definitely get excited about the physicality of someone like Belton. You do just have to wonder, though, not a position of need. If anything, the Packers are, criticized for paying too much attention to the offensive line, which is not something that usually happens. But, hey, you can never have too many offensive linemen, right? Getting a developmental guy to hopefully, come through at some point, it's not the worst idea in the world. So I'm not going to crush them, and Green Bay does have a history of, doing well at these. Not always. Jordan Morgan didn't look great in his small sample size last year, so it doesn't always work out. I don't know. But ultimately, it's a developmental pick, and we'll have to see how well it works out. Then you have Savion Williams, which is definitely an interesting one because, again, we're talking about do the Packers need another guy out there, and it does feel like he could just be another type of guy, right? Like, I don't know if he's going to be a superstar level player. I don't know if that's how you view him. Now, he should be a great special teamer, which would not be why you draft someone at pick 87, but is maybe why you would, maybe an extra benefit to it, right? I don't know. He's has really interesting stuff. He does have a good size and speed and all of that stuff. So he's totally worth the 87th overall pick. I think just the question is fit right here for the Packers. Do they need another receiver who maybe doesn't have number one potential? You got Golden, who can be the number one guy, hopefully. But what role is he going to play here? I'm just interested in seeing what that ends up being. So then they got a couple of edge rushers. That was kind of I feel like an underrated position of need here because you have Rashawn Gary and you still have Lucas Van Ness. We'll see what he can do. They don't want to spend a premium pick on edge, but they will still add some extra bodies in the room. And they have a couple other guys, Kingsley, Ignagbare. I still never learned how to say his name, I just realized. But they still have some other players, but they decided to go with a couple edge rushers. First, Baron Sorrell, who was projected to go 143rd. They get him 124, so right around where he's projected. And, is a player who was just like a solid player at Texas. I do think that with him, you're not looking to hit a home run here, but you're making a layup, I guess, to try to use a basketball analogy somehow in this, of like, he's just someone who should come in and be a body on the defensive line and help out. Is he going to be a star? I wouldn't bank on it, but hopefully he can at least get some snaps that way. You then have Colin Oliver, who is undersized at 240, 6'2". There's been some talk as this, he kind of played around both at edge and outside linebacker. Most people view him as purely, just a pass rush specialist at this point, and he also missed basically all of last year with an injury. So very much a projection pick here, but if they like what they've seen from him and think they can develop him, again, pick 159. You can take some chances here if you want to. Pick 198, they continue to value the trenches here as they go Warren Brinson, who is a player that, again, should be a competent body you can throw out there on run defense plays, can take some snaps. He played 5 years at Georgia, so you're getting a bit of an older prospect here, but someone who did have 400 snaps last year and played solid for Georgia. Again, not a superstar, but you're talking pick 198. It'd be weird if he was a superstar and was still available. Next, we saw Micah Robinson, who I did not see on the consensus big board at all, which is weird because there's hundreds and hundreds of picks on there. I don't know exactly what happened there because I don't think he was I did not do a deep dive on him, obviously, but just doing the research that I have done, doesn't seem like he's awful, and did have a good year at Tulane last year. Is someone who, again, has not gone up against a ton of great competition, but has played at least some quality teams. He played against Florida last year and played solid in that game, maybe not superstar level, but again, probably just going to be a special teams guy, but there's maybe some potential for more here. And then finally, they went with John Williams, not the legendary music composer, but the offensive lineman who actually, out of Cincinnati, he does have very good pass blocking analytics for a tackle. So for pick 250, usually you don't expect much of anything at this point. You're just drafting a guy who you hope can make your special teams roster, right? That's what you're looking at. But he maybe could be even more than that. So a little bit of an interesting selection there as well. So ultimately, a couple of picks toward the end I think are fascinating, and a lot of picks that, again, I'm like, this guy could be a player, although to me, I do kind of view this draft as one awesome pick and a couple of, I don't fully see the vision, but I don't think they're horrible picks either. That's kind of where I'm at with the Packers draft. So I don't really know how exactly I measure this, but I do really like the first round pick. I think that was very good, and sometimes that's all you need. And I do think that some of these other players should at least be solid players, so you can have that as well. The Packers do a pretty good job at creating depth, and this is part of how they do it, by just making sure they get players who should be solid, or at least could be solid. So yeah, those are my thoughts on all of this. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from ya, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.